I'll try to quote Swami Vivekananda himself. He said that most of the Muslims in India are perverts by the sword and they must be brought back into Hindu fold, because every Hindu going out of Hindu fold is not only a Hindu less but an enemy more. Before the advent of Islam, India was a center of educational excellence. Students from all over the world used to come over here. And when they came, they wrote their very detailed chronicles. Last one of them was Faheen and some of his, within that span of 40-50 years, there were many others. All of them were praising highly what was present in India. But once the ingress of Islam started, that flow of students ended. And we started on the downward path, on the downward spiral we started going. Now, what changed? Till that time, the entire Middle East today, the entire eastern part, that was Buddhist. What happened to those Buddhists? Where did they go? They did not vanish in thin air. They were very brutally butchered and converted into Islam. Then after that, what started happening was, after the death of Muhammad, they started expanding throughout the world. Now, I'm not going to talk about isolated incidents. I'll try to share with you the chronology of what has been happening over here. Now, this is a slide which, just let us read a few words. Shortly after Abu Musa Ashari, who had been one of the companions of Prophet, I'll give you the context. When the Prophet had died, the first Khalifa was Abu Bakr. He died after 2 years. Then the second Khalifa was Umar. He started attacks on India, and the first attack that took place, the commander was one person known as Mughira, and then there was other whose commander was Budal. Both of those commanders were killed, the armies were repelled back. Here, what are they discussing? Look at the last portion which is highlighted, holy war with that country. The governor in Iraq sent the message to Umar that the Indians are very great fighters. We've already lost campaigns, so don't think about invading that country with your jihad. First documented evidence. And what is he talking about? Talking about Hind. Now this is in 630s. After that, the major ingress was by Muhammad bin Qasim. I'm skipping it for the shortage of time. I'll switch over to Mahmud Ghaznavi. When he came, in his train was his chronicler. His name was Al-Biruni. This is his book, Kitabul Hind. What is he telling us about Mahmud Ghaznavi? This prince chose the holy war as his calling and therefore called himself Al-Ghazi, that is, warrior on the road of Allah, which is known as jihad fi sabilillah. In the interest of his successors, he constructed in order to weaken the Indian frontier those roads on which afterwards his son Yaminuddollah Mahmud marched into India during a period of 30 years and more. Now notice the next words. God be merciful to both father and son. Mahmud utterly ruined the prosperity of the country and performed their wonderful exploits by which the Hindus became like atoms of dust scattered in all directions. Do you feel any remorse here? Try to connect the dots. When Hamas terrorists are gleeful, here again that glee is being shown when Hindus are being scattered like atoms of dust. And this is 1000 years ago. Then this is Tariq-i-Yamani, his own autobiography. The prosecution of holy wars. He is coming into Hind. What is he doing? He took all the property they contained into his own possession and captured cities in Hind, which had up to that time been tenanted only by infidels and not trodden by the camels and horses of Muslims. It is not ordinary fight between two kings. It is fight between Islam and Kuffar, 1000 years ago. Yaminuddollah Aminul Millat, the friend of the Amir Mumineen. Now what happened was, the Khalifa had said that you are going to be our vice regent in India. And that is what he is saying, professing his allegiance to the successor of the Prophet of God, which means Khalifa. And look at the last line, vowed that every year he would undertake a holy war against Hind. Notice the common strands over here. Allegiance to the Khalifa. And if you've read today's newspapers, what is the front news? What is the headline? 15 Muslims have been arrested by NIA for doing what? For trying to wage jihad against the government of India. And these people had declared a village somewhere around Thane as Islamic region. It was, and he said that this is out of bound for Indians. The name he gave was Al Sham, which is the name of Syria. This is what is happening now. This is what was happening 1,000 years ago. Try to connect the dots when we say we've existed with Muslims peacefully for thousands of years. And he had taken vow to perpetuate jihad on Hind, and that is what today's newspaper is also saying. Next major ingress was by Muhammad Ghori. What are his documents saying? After dwelling on the advantages and necessity of holy war, without which the fold of Muhammad's flock could never be filled, he says that such a hero as these obligations of religion require has been found. And now I'll just shift over quickly. The pole of the world and religion, the pillar of Islam and Muslims, the asylum of princes and sultans, and destroyer of infidels and plural worshippers. Do you see this kind of hatred by any other religion except Islam and Christianity? No, we don't. Then Kutubuddin Aibak. Kutubuddin Aibak pursued him, and when the wretch was taken, his head was severed from his body. Now he's killing somebody, but what is important for us is written accounts of his capture of forts and strongholds and his victories and holy wars. This is perpetual jihad which is going since that time. Sultan, now we come to Alauddin Khilji, which is about 200, at a gap of more than 100 years. Sultan Alauddin advanced against him at the head of a large army for the purpose of carrying on a holy war, actuated by pure faith, sincere intentions, and hope of resurrection, and the determination to bring destruction on the infidels, with a view of holy war and not for the lust of conquest. When he went to Khambayat, which is known as Cambay now, and the idolaters were awakened from their sleepy state of carelessness. Now try to compare it with what Hamas did. And the idolaters were awakened from their sleepy state of carelessness and were taken by surprise, not knowing where to go, and mothers forgot their children and dropped them from their embrace. The Muhammadan forces began to kill and slaughter on the right and on the left unmercifully throughout the impure land for the sake of Islam, and blood flowed in torrents. They plundered gold and silver to an extent, blah blah blah. Does any other religion write these things and then enjoy these things? No. This is what is happening right now. Then move further ahead. They took captive a great number of handsome and elegant maidens, amounting to 20,000, and children of both sexes. What is Israel doing? They captured a few girls. A few girls is again an insert to even a single girl. But here we are talking of thousands of girls which were taken by them for sex slavery, for concubinage. Muhammadan army brought the country to utter ruin. This is not being written by any third party, by the way. This is being written by Muslims themselves. Muhammadan army brought the country to utter ruin and destroyed the lives of the inhabitants and plundered the cities and captured their offspring, so that many temples were deserted and the idols were broken and trodden underfoot, the largest of which was one called Somnath. Sultan Alauddin gave orders that the sword of menace and declaration of unity should be offered to them, when, as they could not help themselves, they placed their heads on the line of Islam. This is forcible conversion. And repeated the profession of Muhammadan creed, which is La ilaha illallah. Alauddin honored and gave preferment to Ali Beg. Then go ahead at the underlined portion. Order was issued by Alauddin to gather together the heads of those who had been slain. This matter was specially made over to the Hindus. On counting them after they were thrown at the feet of the holy warriors, they were found to be amount to 60,000. 60,000's head were severed and a pile was created. at the feet of what? Jihadis, Mujahideen. Now let us go to 1398 when Timur is coming, Timur Lang is coming. What is he stating? Let us read that also. This is in his own biography, Malfusti Timuri. Fit for making wearing apparel and aromatic plants and the sugarcane. It is a country which is always green and verdant, and the whole aspect of the country is pleasant and delightful. Now, since the inhabitants are chiefly polytheists and infidels and idolaters and worshippers of the sun, by order of Allah and His Prophet, it is right for us to conquer them. This is not a fight between two kings. This is fight of Islam with non-Islamic world. Then what does he say? My object in the invasion of Hindustan is to lead an expedition against the infidels, that according to the law of Muhammad, we may convert to the true faith the people of that country and purify the land itself from the filth of infidelity and polytheism, and that we may overthrow their temples and idols and become ghazis and mujahids before Allah. They gave an unwilling consent, but I placed no reliance upon them. At this time, the wise men of Islam came before me, and a conversation began about the propriety of a war against infidels and polytheists. Then what happens is, I'll just read the relevant portion. And it is the duty of every Muslim and true believer to use his utmost exertions in the obedience of his ruler. When the edifying words of the wise men reached the ears of the nobles, all their hearts were set upon a holy war in Hindustan, and throwing themselves on their knees, they repeated the chapter of victory. The chants that you see today on television, Allahu Akbar, that is what was happening in Farghana, in Samarkand 600 years ago. Okay, now let us come to specifics. What is the end goal that Islam wants to achieve? They want to convert entire world into Muslims, into Islamic world, which they call as Darul Islam. That would mean if today the population is 800 billion, they are trying to convert 600 billion people to Islam. Is that going to be peaceful? Has Kashmir been peaceful? Has our partition been peaceful? Just try to think about that. Then you will know the context that how people resist. Try to remember what happened with Sambhaji Maharaj. Try to remember what happened with Guru Tegh Bahadur, with the sons of Guru Tegh Bahadur. This is just a portion from Masiri Alamgiri written for Aurangzeb by his own Muslim chroniclers. What are they saying? The emperor, out of his devotion to Islam, ordered that from 2 courses before the camp, the disgraced and unlucky Sambha should be made to wear a wooden cap, and his comrades should be clad in the dress of buffoons, punished in various ways, mounted on camels, and brought to the encampment and the darbar with drums beating and trumpets pealing, so that Muslims might be heartened and infidels disheartened by seeing it. The night preceding the morning on which he was brought to the court was without exaggeration the Shab-e Barat, because nobody slept till morning for the pleasure of seeing the spectacle. And what was the spectacle what they're talking about? It was like Eid for them. You know how Sambhaji was killed? This is a painting by Mughals themselves. Sambhaji is being brought on a camel. He has been specifically put on funny clothes so that he looks like a clown. Then he is taken to the butcher, where he is cut into pieces and his flesh is being fed to the dogs. This is the religion of peace in action for you. This is from a Gurdwara where they are showing the modern devices, modern scientific inventions which are being used to perpetrate or perpetuate the hegemony of Islam. They were put in boiling oil to be killed if they did not convert to Islam. Scholar Bhai Mani Singh, his fingers were chopped, then his arms were chopped, then his feet were chopped, and ultimately he was beheaded. Bhai Mati Das, he was sawn from middle when he was alive. Bhai Taru Singh, his skull was removed when he was still alive. Madho Das Bairagi, whom we call Banda Singh Bahadur, his skin was peeled off by iron hot pincers. His 3-year-old son was cut in front of him, his heart was taken out, and it was force fed to Banda Bahadur. Does it look like religion of peace to all of you? Because that is what the end goal of Islam is, that is what they want to do. And if these are isolated incidents, I have given you a picture from 634 to 2023, more than 1400 years. Any ideology which for 1400 years shows this butchery, this intolerance in such a large geographical area, I've not talked about what they did to Christians, then can you say that it is few isolated incidents? Something taken out of context? No, all of them were scholars of Quran. In fact, I just missed to show you when Timurlaim had to come, he opened Quran to find out an omen, and he saw the verse which said, told him that go and kill the kafirs. Does it look like religion of peace to you? I think the time is over. I'll rest my case over here. Thank you.